Hi guys, so last week we talked about the tall hot blonde unaliving, and today we'll be talking about the Texas Cadet unaliving. So let's just get into it. Diane Michelle Zamora was born on January 21st, 1978 in Crowley, Texas. When she was 14, she met David Graham at a Civil Air Patrol meeting at Sparks Airport near Crowley, Texas. Diane expressed interest in being an astronaut, and David, he wanted to be a pilot. They began dating 4 years later while Diane was a student at Crawley High School and David was at Mansfield High. Diane was known by her family to be really disciplined and serious. She was oftentimes getting up before 6 a.m. to study before school. And then David was just known as being like the perfect guy that said, yes, ma'am, yes, sir, was just really respectful, got straight A's, just, one of those guys that just did everything right. And David claimed that he gave Adrian Jones a ride from a regional track meet on November 4th, 1995. Adrian was known to her friends as AJ, and she was born on June 18th, 1979 in Mansfield, Texas. Adrian was known by her classmates as being one of the prettiest girls in the school and having a bubbling personality, and was full of school spirit. And she even managed to work 20 hours a week at Golden Fried Chicken, a local fast food chain. Adrian was also an honors student at Mansfield High School, and she had plans on attending Texas A&M University after high school and becoming a behavioral analyst. Now, David had like skipping ahead a little bit here, but David had recanted in this incident that he talked to about Diane with a few times in the future, but then he would say that it did happen and then it didn't happen, it did happen. But basically Diane was questioning him on whether or not he had been with other girls, in particular AJ, and he said, yes, I gave her a ride and we smashed. We stopped somewhere and we smashed. Diane was furious. She was completely enraged. It said that she was hitting her head against the floor. I don't even know how you do that, but I mean, this was a girl who felt completely betrayed, and she was crying, screaming. It said that this went on for hours until she told David that he needed to do the right thing and unalive Adrian. On December 4th in 1995, David picked up Adrian in Diane's car while Diane hid in the back seat. After they picked her up, they drove to a location and parked where Diane confronted Adrian about the smashing, and allegedly Adrian said that yes, they did smash, but that she didn't even enjoy it. And this enraged Diane even further, and she hit her with weights, and then Adrian was able to get away out of the car, but Diane screamed at David to finish the job. So David ran out, he caught up with her, and he shot her. Her body was found near Pool Lake in a field on December 4th, 1995, where investigators determined that she had been SA'd, hit with weights, and shot. Diane and David cleaned up, changed clothes, and then for the most part just went on about their lives as if nothing had happened. And David, it's said that David asked Diane, do you believe me now? Like, do you believe me now that I actually do love you? While the investigation was ongoing, David went on to the Air Force Academy in Colorado Springs, and Diane went to the Naval Academy in Annapolis, Maryland. Now, this is where if Diane would have kept her mouth shut, maybe they would have gotten away with it. But while at the academy, Diane decided to essentially brag about the unaliving to one of her roommates. In this, like, my fiance loves me so much, he unalived a girl for me. The roommates then contacted the authorities at the academy, which resulted in the Grand Prairie police being contacted and Diane and David being arrested for capital murder on September 6, 1996. David was interrogated for 30 hours and he then confessed to the unaliving of Adrian Jones. Diane also confessed, but then they both recanted their confessions, with David pinning the unaliving on Diane and Diane pinning the unaliving on David. Great love story. Adrian Jones's mother, Linda, requested that the unaliving penalty be removed as a sentence from both of the trials. On February 17th, 1998, after 6 hours of deliberation, the jury found Diane guilty of capital unaliving of Adrian Jones. And then on June 24th, 1998, in a separate trial, they found David Graham guilty of capital unaliving of Adrian Jones as well. David and Diane both received life sentences with the possibility of parole after 40 years, with Diane serving her sentence at the Lane Murray unit in Gatesville, Texas, while David is serving his at the Allred unit in Wichita Falls, Kansas. It was also stated that during the trial, David didn't show any type of love toward or emotion toward Diane, which I thought was kind of weird. And then Diane hasn't really shown any remorse for the unaliving since it happened. And there was witness testimony at the trial that David, in fact, wasn't the one that drove Adrian home from the meet. It was another student. So the whole thing was pretty much orchestrated by David just to make Diane jealous, which is ridiculous because all he had to do was be like, hey, I didn't do it. We didn't smash. And then, you know, she would still be alive today. But regardless, it's just insane to think of unaliving somebody because you got cheated on. Like, just unalive the old version of yourself and start fresh. I don't know. If I got cheated on, I would just cheat with somebody hotter, or I would get with their dad and they would be my stepson, or if they were older, like a lot older, and they had adult children, then I would get with their son, and then I would be their daughter-in-law. That's how I would get somebody back for cheating, but that's just me. Anyway, that's the story of the Texas Cadet unaliving. Let me know your thoughts down below, and I'll see you next week with a new thing. I don't even know what to call it. Love you guys. Bye.